Acolytes. I got told by someone who I actually trust in those things that the law that actually we talked about, or Chibi Reviews talked about, got passed. And I didn't get an explanation written down, or just in the basics, but I got told that this guy actually explains it quite well. So I'm gonna watch this, because now that it's passed, I actually wanna understand what the F is going about. Because until it's not passed, Acolytes, let's be honest, it's a danger, but I actually thought that it got ejected, but clearly not. So, with my understanding, I didn't see anything wrong with it, but if somebody like this guy can explain it to me quite nicely, or in a way that I can understand it, that would be fantastic.
Hide your lollies, guys. The Texas Rangers are coming after your lollies. Yes, for those that missed it, Texas, the senators over there in Texas have decided to pass a bill, Senate Bill 20, that could possibly make it illegal to have pretty much all of your favorite animes, to stream most of your favorite animes, and yes, might end up
the thing is, the wording already, and I'm just gonna point it out because, well, I forgot in the past, but he's already saying that could probably make it illegal, so that for me means he doesn't know the thing either. Or it's so convolutedly written that you just don't know it exactly. And he's probably a native English speaker, and if he doesn't understand it, well, the fuck am I gonna do?
Costing you pretty much your freedom. But before we get into the fear-mongering, I do want to preface this whole thing with it's not in effect. It still has to go through a lot of processes, and there's a good chance that because there's already laws in effect, it could get completely slapped down as unconstitutional.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know how high the chance of that is, but that sounds good.
Like, there's a lot of stuff that's in this bill that completely goes counter to what we already have into effect. Certain things that pretty much protect our freedom of expression. Okay. So don't get too worked up.
Fair enough.
I'm certain there's going to be those other content creators that's probably going to tell you doom and gloom, get ready guys, start revolting, and everybody makes their Twitter posts and goes, man, I revolted. Let's calm down for a little bit and let's get a little bit of context here. First things first, I am not a lawyer, and everything that I say here is my own opinion. Do your own research.
Fair enough.
And when this does pass, make sure to do your diligence and look into what it actually does so you can protect yourself. But anyways, let's look at this.
Yeah, the thing, as I said, not a native English speaker, and how I understand it, it sounds okay. But I hope I'm not getting proven wrong here. And best case scenario, this thing just doesn't get passed anyway, so there's that.
Serto's take on this whole thing, because I think they have a pretty good little summary that we can kind of go through here. A new Texas bill could make an incredibly popular anime and video games illegal. Scare you clicking it? Are you guys clicking it yet? A Texas bill was unanimously passed by the state Senate will, if it gets instated as actual law, will criminalize the possession of any material depicting minors in obscene ways. Though Senate Bill 20 is structured in a way that mainly points it at the usage of AI software to create the type of material, cartoon or animation are also specified. That's the key thing. When I first initially heard there was an initiative like this, because I heard something about this coming out in Texas, I heard this aspect of that they were essentially trying to protect children when it comes to using AI. And I think the example they were giving there was that, yeah, you can have like a kid at school and somebody takes their likeness and literally puts it into prawn.
Correctly. And if it comes to that, I am actually for it that children get protected if it's a real life child that actually gets depicted in that.
Like they make AI prawn out of, minors, which I was like, yes, 100% agree.
Exactly, yes.
100% agree. Stop it. Put a stop to it. I'm fine. And yes, the idea of just in general, CP is bad. Real depictions of people is bad. Get rid of it. Put them in jail. I back you. But the problem is I didn't know they added this little bit to it. Let's look at it. Let's look at it right now, because it's in here. If you look at the actual bill.
Yeah, this is the thing, even if it's just drawn, and I mean a real life child is drawn, I also see it as CP, I personally. And as I have to clarify it again, if the child actually exists, then yes, both are bad.
Bill itself, Senate Bill 20, right here. If you look down right here, I have it highlighted already. A person commits an offense if the person knowingly possess access with intent to view or promotes obscene visual material containing a depiction that appears to be of a child younger than 18 years of age engaging in activities described by Section 4321, regardless of whether the depiction is an image of the actual child, which we all agree, 100%. Put him in the jail. To put if you have 100%, if you have full on proof, put him on the guillotine. Go.
Correctly, yes.
But comma, a cartoon or animation. This is a different thing. We have a comma there. A cartoon or animation, comma, another thing here, or an image created using artificial intelligence application or other software. You have to, with legal documentation, I have learned over my many years, always look for those commas because we are breaking it apart. We're not saying something that was created with artificial intelligence. We are saying a cartoon or animation. Now let's look at something else. Also, it's pretty much an also. Image of an actual child. Also, a cartoon or animation. Also, an image created using artificial intelligence. We're adding it up, one after another. These are different things. This I did not knowing was going to be in it, and this changes everything. And this is...
This is a really subtle, small thing. As I read it with my understanding, it just takes the entire thing and says that those things that were called are the things that are not allowed with real children. But he's an English and native speaker, and he actually seems to give a fuck. If he says, yeah, it's still a bit confusing to me. It's still
what makes people extremely scared right now. Because yes, we've gotten this before. If you guys have been around here for a while now, we've talked about this whole thing and how essentially our laws in the United States protect freedom of expression. It came out with that whole Vice thing, where Vice went over to Japan and said, oh, look how evil Japan is. They allow these mangas that have depictions of characters that look really, really young. They're so horrible over here. I'm so glad I'm in America where we protect this kind of stuff. And I said then, it's allowed here too, because our laws are pretty much similar to theirs. Where if it's something that is not an actual child, like it's not an actual depiction of a real person,
yes,
it's fine. We have protections against cartoons and statues and art and paintings and stuff like that. If you look at actual law, let's look at actual law right here under 2256. The key things that kind of protect our freedom of expression when it comes to drawings and cartoons and stuff like that is this idea that it's indistinguishable from the real thing. The term indistinguishable, used with respect to the depiction, means virtually indistinguishable in that the depiction is such that an ordinary person viewing the depiction would conclude that the depiction is of an actual minor engaged in explicit conduct. The definition does not apply to depictions of drawings, cartoons, sculptures, or paintings depicting minors or adults. Right here is what this law over here is going counter to. And this is where I pretty much pause and say, I don't think it's time to get scared. I don't think it's time to get up in arms. Because I think this right here is going to go counter to already present law. And that's why I think it might get smacked down. Or if it doesn't get smacked down, it goes through law. At some point, somebody will possibly get in trouble for having something that's explicit. And then they will have to appeal it and go to federal courts where they will realize you guys have a law that's kind of unconstitutional because it's going against something that is allowed, that is freedom of expression. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but that does sound, that kind of sounds a little counter to what we already have right here that says it's allowed. Now, don't get this twisted. I know that a lot of people are probably going to think, Andrew, why would you even defend the idea of there being, cartoon depictions of what could be possibly young characters in the actual act of doing something? Because yes, there's a lot of people that are going to argue against that. Like, you can't even defend that. I mean, even right here, DeSerto even gets into it. Like, they're picking up on it. I mean, that's probably the whole basis of this entire article. Yeah, this does, in section 43.21, does get into the idea of actual things that most people are going to find deplorable. Most people, your general public person, is probably going to say, yeah, that's definitely not allowed. I mean, if we actually get into it right here, it gets into the actual act of it, doing it. It's in here, yes, right. But that's just A, B, you get each of these points. The problem is C here. The problem is C. That's where it's like super broad, super open to interpretation. It's just like literally like just a character making a sex joke. let's face it. Young characters can make jokes about that kind of stuff. It's like taken as a whole lacks serious literary, artistic, political, and scientific value. It's like it's obscene materials in the performance that lacks this, A, B, or C. Obscene means material or performances that, taken as a whole, lack serious literary, artistic, political, and scientific value. That's massively broad. And again, that's where it's going to get into the realm of like...
Yes, it is. He's correct. Yep.
Absolute interpretation. Again, like they're pointing out, and again, I'm not a lawyer, like they're pointing out, this is open to interpretation. These are obscene stuff. A, B are obscene stuff, but then you have C here that's literally opening up the floodgates. It opens it up in that realm of just being more broad so they can choose whatever they want to slap down.
Yep.
That's where it becomes the problem. Again, you open that door, you can never close it. Now, as per usual, I want to state my reasoning here for why I think the way I do. Because yes, a lot of people are going to say, hey, Andrew, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with banning shows that are explicit, that has characters that look young? My problem has always been, once you open that door, you lose your freedom of expression. And you might not be worried about, let's say, for current season, 100 girlfriends who really, really love you. Many people out there might be like, that's fine. Get rid of that show. Pfft, those characters are in high school. I don't want them, moaning or having derpy faces that are looking all like, pleasured or whatever. I don't need them to look all thirsty. That's inappropriate. Get rid of that. You're fine with getting rid of that, but then that door opens. And when that door opens, you cannot close it. Unless they start looking at everything and start questioning, is that character old enough? Is that drawing old enough? Somebody's looking over your shoulder. Are you drawing a character? That character looks that looks a little too young there. Or do you have cases like right above me right here, Roxy Magurdia? Is a lot of individuals going to look at that and go, oh, that character looks underage, even though it's technically an adult, but they're petite. Which, yes, by the way, for those that are in the back of the classroom here, there are people that are petite. They're adults.
Correctly. And I just want to add to it that, yes, he's absolutely correct with it. And you just have to remember this. Anime is just one of the last bastions of actually free expression and those kinds of things. Even though I personally do not like if even drawn characters under a certain age perform sexual acts. I am not a fan of that. Now, in anime, if you have like a 15-year-old that makes a face or something, I find that just funny. Fair enough. But anime is one of the last bastions of actually holding against this stuff, and as soon they go through this bastion, the next bastion is open to attack. And then it will attack the thing that those people that are all for it will actually cry about, but then the floodgates are open. And we're all effed.
That are petite. People come in all shapes and sizes, and all shapes and sizes deserve love.
Yeah.
There's that door when you start opening, where you start questioning how old are these characters. And yes, all of you individuals with your Dragon Ball characters going, oh my gosh, get rid of those young characters from those shows, you pervert. Dragon Ball will be cut too.
Correctly.
Damn straight, Dragon Ball would be cut too. Because Dragon Ball, yes, has a lot of young characters who have very questionable outfits and whatnot. Man, the OG Chi-Chi character was very much so in a skimpy outfit. A lot of that stuff is going to be looked at with a magnifying glass, and they're going to ban it all. I would argue probably 99.999% of anime will be banned. And I would argue a lot of Western cartoons will get banned. And yes, a lot of Western games will get banned. A lot of things will end up banned. You have a TV show or film or romance or something like that that has two characters that are under 18 that have, it's a romance. And so they decide to kiss, ban it. Again, you open that door, it never gets shut. Rights are very, very, very hard to obtain. And once you lose it, it's hard to ever get back. You do not want to lose those rights. I've always argued I am not somebody that goes around and partakes in manga or anime that has characters that are really, really young, that are in explicit scenes or whatever. But even though I don't partake in it, I'm not going to say ban it. Because once you open that door, it's left for interpretation. Like they get into right here, yes, technically, you're going to start leaving it up to interpretation, and it's going to start banning everything. Some of the most popular anime, manga, and games of all time contain these sort of depictions. Depending on how Texan lawmakers feel about certain series, there's a good chance many of the most popular anime and manga series could be affected. Again, it's all an interpretation. That's the problem. what is explicit, what is too much, what is sexual. That
Yes.
kind of stuff all
He's
comes
correct,
up to
yes.
question mark. Now, again, like I said before, this isn't law yet. That's the key thing to remember here. Don't get too panicky here. This isn't in law yet. What has currently happened, if you look at here on the actual site here, you will see Senate Bill 20. If we go down here, you'll see the actual progress of this bill itself. You go through a lot of amendments and whatnot, and eventually they go through this process of voting. It gets passed, and now currently it's off to the House. They have received it from the Senate. So it's going to the House at this point. At that point, yes, it could possibly get passed there. But there's a thing here where I think that it's going to probably get smacked down, again, because it's going against current law that is in effect that essentially are there as sort of, not as rights, but more of an idea of, because we have freedom of expression, this right here keeps that controlled so that you don't have explicit things happening despite having that freedom of expression. And this goes in counter with what we have in current law. And thus it could possibly get stopped there. Again, if it does get passed through, somebody gets in trouble, it could end up going up into federal courts where it could actually start to question that. I think this individual right here, Sparky, puts it pretty well. So the too long didn't read is Texas is throwing a legal dart at AI-generated content with SB 20. Agreed. That was my original thought process there, is they were trying to take current law that's already in effect here, and they were trying to add AI to it, hoping it sticks without getting smacked down by the SCOTUS. The bill basically tweaks existing obscenity laws to include AI-generated CSAM, which, yeah, obviously should be illegal. Which, like I said, I technically agree. I agree with the idea of not using AI for the sake of creating realistic-looking pornography. It's just it's not good. But the wording about cartoon or animation is what's making people side-eye it.
Yep.
Like I said, that blindsided me. This ain't a nuke on anime or manga, unless you're out there making ultra-realistic AI art that could be mistaken for a real person. The definition of identifiable minor still hinges on actual real-world recognition, not just looks young, therefore illegal. So Roxy's okay. No, I'm joking. So no, this doesn't mean you made the Texas Ranger joke too. I didn't see that earlier. So no, this doesn't mean Texas Ranger. Maybe it didn't play in my head. Mean Texas Ranger about to raid your Neon Genesis Evangelion Blu-ray collection. Yeah, I want a Crytek one over here. The only real reason to worry is if this is step one of a bigger legal play to challenge the Protection Act precedent at SCOTUS. By the way, that's Supreme Court of the United States. Because if that happens, then you're not just dealing with Texas anymore. You're looking at federal level reinterpretations, which could have ripple effects far beyond AI-generated image. And there's the key thing here. If it does get into there, and they then at that point reinterpret things, that's when things are going to really hit the fan. And again, I think it's just going to have ripples beyond just anime. Again, for all those people, again, in the back of the room there, all the back of the class there, you're not hearing me here. You might not like, let's just go for an extreme here. You might not like those pictures of Kana from Maid Dragon on your Twitter feed that you're scrolling through, and she's looking like, yeah, full-on nudity. You might not like that. Personally,
Correctly.
I'm not looking for it. But the problem is that when you say, get rid of that because I don't like that, you're opening the door to let's censor pretty much everything.
Correctly. And by the way, if you don't like it, just avoid actually just watching it. Don't click on it, and it will just go away. Simple as that.
That could be remotely close to it. You're going to leave a bunch of governors and judges that are old farts that don't even know the difference between Roxy.
Yeah. I'm not particularly well to speak if it comes to the legal system we have right here. So, I mean the Western system. So there's that. But yes, he is correct. It's way too dangerous to actually leave them there.
Of Michiko Tensei or Rem of ReZero or shoot the grandma from Dandadan. They won't know the difference. They're going to say drawing looks explicit. Yeah, throw them in jail. Bottom line, for now, nothing new really is happening. If it ever does escalate, it's going to be in a courtroom years down the line, not on your Twitter feed today. And that, again, I kind of agree with it. Even if it does pass, even if it does get through the House, even if it does get up there, it gets passed, it becomes a bill, it becomes a law, it's probably not going to be until somebody ends up getting in trouble for it. And then once they get in trouble for it, it goes to appeals, it goes up to higher courts, and then everything starts hitting the fan. At that point, they start setting precedents and whatnot.
Correctly,
but for now,
yes.
we're like super early level here. We're super early level here. It is not time to start throwing stuff. It's not time to start panicking. It's time to start making clickbait like I'm making with my video. But I'm trying to calm people. I'm trying to get some people a little bit clarity here, because this is obviously going to be something very scary to a lot of people. Yeah, like even when they're talking about video game stuff, yeah, technically Persona, that's on the table. It's definitely, it's open game at that point. But for now, it's not going anywhere. But anyways, I just want to get on here.
Yeah. Fair enough. For now, yes. But still, not that you should get worried and uppity get about it, but still, acolytes, be aware of it and show everyone that, yeah, this is bad. Because in the end of the day, even if you shouldn't be too worried about it, a bit of worry isn't misplaced here. It still can go awry pretty quickly. That's just how these things work. And at the end of the day, of course, it's not true still. It could still be stopped, or it will be with a high probability still be stopped. But yeah, I understand it a bit better now. Let's just at least that, and it's really not the best thing. Definitively not. I am not a fan right now. This, if we can, we should stop this to a certain degree. Not panicky, but stop it if possible. And as it is, acolytes, good night.